Sorry for the delay. Had a little YouTube streaming problem, but we got that worked out. We got a great show for you. We're going to talk about the Fourth Amendment, your right to privacy. And keep that in mind in the broadcast today. You and I, as Americans, have a right to privacy. It's called the Fourth Amendment. It is clearly under attack. It is clearly under assault. And so we're going to talk about that in context of flock cameras today. Also going to tie it to Edward Snowden. You remember Edward Snowden? We all forgot about what he revealed. And now I think because nobody did anything back in 2013, we're now experiencing the rotten fruits of inaction when it comes to protecting our Fourth Amendment rights. We have retired law enforcement officer Mr. Tim Loggins is in studio with us today. He's going to talk about it because he's got a unique perspective on this, has been posting a lot on social media and getting a lot of attention. This is not just happening in big cities. It's happening in little old towns in Arkansas, all across the country, and people are waking up. So that's what we're going to talk about today. The show starts right now.
Paul Harrell Program.
All right, folks, welcome to the show. Sorry, let me get that out of here. Broadcasting live from the great state of Arkansas. So a couple of things. 13 years ago, Edward Snowden pulled back the curtain on something many Americans never imagined was possible. He showed us that the intelligence apparatus had grown into something far larger than most of us realized. Millions of innocent people were having information swept up and stored in a giant data center in Utah. By the way, that was the first time I think I ever heard the phrase data center, and it was a massive compound in Utah, and now they're popping up everywhere. Just a data point, pun intended, for our future conversation that we're about to have. So, millions of Americans' information was being stored at this data center in Utah, not because they were suspected of a crime, but because technology had finally made mass surveillance possible. Snowden revealed to us that they had surveillance tools that could even capture every single keystroke that you type. But because of the media, because of lying politicians failing to do their jobs, most people forgot about it because they just didn't care, or people began repeating the same phrase. If you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. I remember hearing that over and over again. Matter of fact, there was a beauty contestant, and I couldn't find the clip because everybody goes, when you search a beauty queen contestant, the Miss Teen South Carolina always comes up where she's like, you know, some Americans have maps, and, you know, that sort of thing. So I couldn't actually find the clip. But she was even asked about Edward Snowden and privacy, and she said, well, you know, if you're not doing anything wrong, you know, you have nothing to be afraid of. It's such a simple statement, but it's also one of the most dangerous ideas ever introduced in a free society. Because the Fourth Amendment doesn't say your rights only exist if you're hiding something. It doesn't say that the government, or what I often call the intel oligarchy, gets to search first and justify it later. Our Constitution says the exact opposite. It actually assumes that you are innocent. It assumes that your privacy belongs to you. And that's because it does. It assumes that the government must justify invading your privacy. That was the genius of our country. The founders, they had lived under governments that treated every citizen as a potential suspect. America, though, was supposed to be different. And really, for about 150 years, it was. Fast forward to today, now the debate isn't really about the NSA, although we shouldn't forget, it probably should be, but it's about flock cameras. Thousands of cameras, billions of license plate scans every month, a network that has spread across thousands of communities in just a handful of years. According to the company, Flock, its systems are now deployed in roughly 6,000 communities and scan license plates billions of times each month. And once again, we're hearing the same argument from some people. Well, if you're not doing anything wrong, what's the problem? No, is what I say to that. No. That completely misses the point, in fact. The issue isn't whether I have something to hide. The issue is whether the government or corporations acting as extensions of government have a right to build permanent records of innocent people's daily movements. Our rights don't disappear simply because technology gets better, but that's exactly what is happening. what's fascinating is that this isn't becoming a left-wing issue. It's not even a right-wing issue. It's really becoming an American issue right now. You've got even CNN reporting that conservatives are concerned about constitutional rights, and then progressives are worried about government abuse, and they're arriving at the same conclusion, maybe from different directions. But, I mean, that is one thing that Americans still have, is this right to be left alone. It's ingrained in people on both sides of the political spectrum, or maybe not all. I think some of the far lefties don't quite get it, but right now we have local governments that are beginning to cancel contracts. You have cities debating whether to renew them. That's a good thing. You even have members of Congress, don't hold your breath there, but they are introducing legislation trying to require warrants to access certain data. Even Flock Camera's own CEO, Garrett Langley, what a last name, Langley. He's apologized after calling one of the organizations opposing Flock domestic terrorists. DFlock is doing some great work. Their primary activity has been creating a crowdsourced map showing where Flock cameras are located and helping communities organized against new deployments. Yet, Flock's CEO Garrett Langley didn't describe them as concerned citizens. He called them a terroristic organization. And think about that for a moment. People were just exercising their First Amendment rights, filing public records requests, mapping publicly visible cameras, organizing town halls, showing up at those town halls and city council meetings. And the CEO's response wasn't, let's answer their concerns. It was to compare them to terrorists. But something then changed. The public backlash kept growing. CNN started reporting on bipartisan opposition. Newsmax was covering proposed federal legislation. Local governments began again canceling contracts. More cities started asking hard questions. And suddenly, the rhetoric from Flock's CEO changed. Garrett Langley went from calling these people a terrorist organization to saying, quote, "My comments were a mistake and I apologize." He went on to then admit, quote, "There are groups today that have real valid criticisms of the business," and said that the company had been listening to those concerns while trying to find a balance between safety and privacy. So that's his apology. We can, take it for what it's worth, but ask yourself, wonder what made him have a change of heart. Did the Constitution change his mind? Did the Fourth Amendment change? Or did public opinion change? Because if these concerns are now real valid criticisms, then they were real valid criticisms before they became politically inconvenient to dismiss. Seems like the Constitution didn't change, but maybe the polling changed. That's probably accurate. People have begun asking a simple question. Not, can these cameras solve crimes? Because, of course, they can. The better question is, who watches the watchers? Because history teaches us that the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and for some reason, some people think if you have good intentions, that means we can break inconvenient laws like the right to privacy articulated in the Fourth Amendment. You're going to hear words like national security, we need these for public safety, finding missing children, catching violent criminals. Those are all great things, worthy goals. We all want to do that, right? But once a surveillance capability exists, the temptation to expand it is irresistible, and it isn't some theory. This isn't a theory. This is not we've got to prove the slippery slope. No, it's a real thing. It's proven. It's a fact. We all lived it. We all saw how totalitarian our government and neighbors turned overnight during COVID. Can you imagine if they had had Flock cameras back then? Can you imagine what Gretchen Whitmer would have done with that technology in conservative districts? I want to go to the store. I don't want to be locked down in my home. So today's emergency becomes tomorrow's normal, the new normal. We remember that phrase. Today's exception becomes tomorrow's policy. Today's narrowly tailored program quietly becomes tomorrow's nationwide database. So Edward Snowden warned that suspicionless surveillance doesn't become acceptable simply because it's aimed at more people instead of fewer. That's the lesson we should have learned 13 years ago. We didn't. The Fourth Amendment wasn't written to protect criminals. It was written to protect ordinary Americans from becoming slaves to the government, because privacy isn't a reward for your good behavior. It's a constitutional right, ladies and gentlemen. And rights surrendered because I have nothing to hide have a funny way of never coming back at all. And with that, I want to welcome my guest in studio today. We've got Mr. Tim Loggins. Tim, sir, it's been way too long.
It's been a while.
How you doing?
I'm doing very well, Paul. Thank you for having me on today. This is a pretty important topic for me. As you know, I've worked quite a bit on all of our rights, specifically Second Amendment more than most, but I certainly believe if you don't exercise your rights and defend them, you will lose them. And we are quickly losing our right to privacy, our right to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures. Quickly.
Pull the microphone just a little bit closer to the edge of the table, if you will. Yeah.
How's that?
That's good. Thank you. So you have we worked together back in the day. Getting the word out on constitutional carry and the Second Amendment and everything else. Matter of fact, I was thinking about this the other day randomly before you even came up to come on the show. I was thinking about that conversation we had. I don't know what bill it was. We were thinking of some bill that was going to solidify us as a constitutional carry state. And I was like, what are we going to do after this? I don't know. I guess we'll just go fishing. Do you remember that conversation?
I do remember that, yeah.
That was great.
And that was the goal.
Yeah.
That should be the goal of every politician, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Let's accomplish our mission and then go home.
Mm-hmm.
Too often that's not their goal, though.
Yeah. The longer the problem exists, the more, we're seeing that right now with what's going on with Anthony Fauci. Nothing's going to happen to that guy. But there's a lot of great sound clips that are going to be used to fundraise and emails, for their campaigns. So,
I'll be shocked if anything happens to Fauci.
Yeah.
And he should be in prison.
Yeah.
He's like a mass murderer.
100%. We talked about that yesterday, as a matter of fact. That essentially, if you look at what the 7 million deaths or whatever the number is worldwide, and you look at EcoHealth Alliance and his funding of the gain of function research, and China was responsible in some way, but it's very much a red herring because our own government, portions of our own government, are responsible for a mass killing of people across the planet.
Even if China did it intentionally, Fauci's the one that funded it.
Yeah.
So at worst or best, however you want to look at it, he was in partnership with the Communist Chinese.
Yeah.
So they were partners in mass murder.
So I want to get back to flock camera. What turned you on to this specific issue? How did you first find out about it? I know they're in our local community here of about 80,000 people. They're popping up everywhere now.
I'll be real honest with you, Paul. I'm concerned with the entirety of artificial intelligence and what that's going to mean for our future moving forward. It can be a great force for good, and it can also be used for evil.
Yeah.
Flock is just one part of AI that can have an extremely negative effect upon everyone's daily lives. I've become involved in the open fields doctrine, which is another Fourth Amendment violation, where game wardens and other law enforcement can go on your property without a warrant. They can even plant surveillance cameras just because they want to. They don't even have to have probable cause or reasonable suspicion that you're doing anything wrong. They can just do it. And the Supreme Court has said, hey, that's okay because it's not your home. And I got a problem with that. It's just a continued erosion, and flock cameras, it continues that erosion of the Fourth Amendment. I made one single post about flock, and all I did was I went to DFlock, and I wanted to know how many cameras were in Jonesboro, and pulled up a map and shared that. And I believe I got over 100,000 views and clicks and reactions on that one single post. I don't know how many shares.
Is this the post right here?
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, I'll throw it up on the screen. Yeah, this is why I wanted to have you on. I told the audience yesterday, we're going to do a flock camera episode, and Rob got tied up, and I knew Eric wasn't going to be able to be here, and I was like, I know Tim has been making posts about flock cameras. Let's reach out. And so at the last minute, you were like, yeah, I can come on and do this. So
I tagged a few of our legislators here in Arkansas, some that I thought would be sympathetic to the erosion of our rights. I haven't gotten a whole lot of feedback at this point from the politicians. It doesn't seem to be a pressing issue at this time. Now, that doesn't mean it's not going to change, but
right.
As of right now, they're not really looking at doing too much with this. And I'll be honest with you, I believe that flock cameras should be outlawed. All they're doing is an end run by law enforcement around the Fourth Amendment by using that private entity to do the surveillance for them. And so they don't need a warrant. It is absolutely shredding the Fourth Amendment, just shredding it. And recent Supreme Court decision, I believe it's Chattery versus United States. Have you?
I have not. No, not familiar with
That
it.
was geofencing, which is very similar to what flock cameras does. And basically law enforcement was taking cell phone data from cell phone towers in a given area and surveilling everyone in that area to see who may have committed a crime. Supreme Court 6-3 said that's a violation. Yeah, we've said before you don't have a reasonable expectation of privacy in public, but that's not in public. You are searching, and that's a violation. So I truly believe that flock cameras will also be found unconstitutional under that same precedent. It's just going to take somebody taking it to court. As a matter of fact, after the Chattery decision, I believe that someone could sue a 1983 lawsuit against a city under deprivation of rights under the color of law and actually win money for the cities and police departments that are accessing this information without a warrant. And no one's arguing that flock's bad, but who's watching the watchers? Well, they investigated themselves and cleared themselves. I'm sorry, I'm just not good with that.
No, they're not. And I mean, you look at that, what we covered in the monologue, the billions of license plates that are being scanned, and then we come to this idea of, okay, we're also being told that data centers are good for us, but no one can really articulate why. We certainly can see all the negatives, meaning loss of property rights. That girl down in Georgia is trying to save her parents' home, her family home. The noise,
increased energy usage, water,
right? Which means in a lot of cases our power bills go up. I mean, we can all articulate the negative, and I think the big negative, though, is that combined with things like flock and other ideas, I feel like the data centers, the feature of the data centers, are going to be to strip away our rights, take our rights away from us, and it may give us great technology in the beginning, but I mean, the other day. We played this on the show. It was the head of the Arkansas Economic Development Commission was asked in committee by a state representative by the name of Jimmy Gazaway, do you know what these data centers are going to be used for? And I think they were talking about a specific project. And the guy said, at this point, no, I don't. I don't even know what the purpose of these are. And yet we've got people telling us that we've got to do this and that we've got to give taxpayer money in some cases to incentivize it. What are your thoughts on? Do you know what they're for? What do you think? What are the data centers?
I think it's a total integration of artificial intelligence into our daily lives. I think ultimately it's going to be used to try and control us and take all of our rights away. The more data centers you have, the greater your computing ability is, and the greater your ability to increase the artificial intelligence usage. That's what it boils down to. Flock's part of that. And it's not just license plate readers, by the way. They're also scanning the VIN numbers on the vehicles. They're doing facial recognition on who's driving the vehicles. And the more sophisticated these programs get, the more information they're getting on the people, to the point of they're tracking your movements. Where you're going, what your patterns are, what your shopping habits are. Do you have a girlfriend? Where does she live? Mm-hmm. I mean, they're building databases on every single person in America, and man, that's a conspiracy theory. Well, yeah, so was COVID, right?
Yeah.
How many conspiracy theories do we have to be proven right on?
Yeah. Well, and it's really funny too, because COVID is such a great example. Those of us on the right, I was in the talk radio world on the right, and we would always warn about what the government would do to us if they ever got too much power, And COVID proved everybody right. I mean, any person on the right who had been warning about the dangers of socialism or the dangers of communism or whatever in any myriad of issues, well, whatever you want to say, we were 100% right. Likewise, when Elon Musk exposed how much waste is the government, how much money the government is actually giving away to their friends and wasting it. Again, every, you know what I mean? Every stereotypical caricature of a bureaucrat or a government official was actually, we didn't go far enough. Like in our description of it, we actually failed in articulating how corrupt the system really is.
Was it Jefferson that said that if men were angels, we would need no government?
Yes.
And wasn't it Franklin that said, we've given you a republic
Yeah.
if you can keep it?
Correct.
And Franklin also said, he who would sacrifice safety for security deserves neither and will lose both, right? Mm-hmm. That's what flock is. That's what rights are never just taken away overnight. It's always a steady encroachment, a steady erosion. And one day we're going to wake up and the Fourth Amendment will mean absolutely nothing. We're seeing it on the First Amendment. There was a young lady recently got like a year in jail for hate speech. What is hate speech? My right.
You're talking about Shiloh Christian?
Yes.
Yeah, I think she got a $1,000 fine and 200 days of community service. But you're to your point, she used the N-word and was convicted of using the N-word,
which is detestable, right? But my rights aren't what you think is appropriate. That's where my rights start where you're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And we're losing our First Amendment rights. We're losing our Second Amendment rights. We're slowly clawing those back nationwide. Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, Eighth Amendment. We're losing our rights, and it's a slow erosion. And flock is part of that. We started 2 years ago in Jonesboro with, I believe, 32 cameras that was purchased with a grant for the first year. We're up to 54 now. It's costing $190,000 a year in taxpayer money. And I don't know how many cameras are being purchased by private individuals. And that's an entirely different issue. You got HOAs and neighborhoods that are buying the cameras, paying the yearly fee, and then sharing the information with law enforcement.
Yeah.
What gives them the right to share my information? Simply because they're the one that paid for the system. This is all deeply, deeply, deeply troubling.
So you write in that post, like the first comment, you say, "I'm simply astonished at the number of folks who cannot tell the difference between the government accessing your data and photographs of your private information without a warrant and a private business or person doing it." And you even hear somewhere in here, I'm pretty sure somebody said, if you've got nothing to, if you've got nothing to hide or you're not doing anything wrong, you got nothing to worry about. It's like, how do we have a lack of imagination with some people? Like, do people just have a lack of imagination?
No, what we have is a lack of education. Our society has dumbed down our educational system, and we're not teaching civics and what our rights are. And people truly don't understand that in order to maintain your rights, you have to exercise them. And it's okay for, they almost believe that the government grants us our rights.
Yes.
Instead of God granting our rights and the Constitution actually telling the government what they can and can't do. It doesn't tell us anything.
Right.
I mean, you look at the 9th and 10th Amendment. I mean, it literally says that whatever's done in this Constitution, hey, that's not all the rights you have. And oh, by the way, federal government, if it's not given to you in this Constitution, you don't have the power. Mm-hmm. We're not teaching that in school. So when people say, well, if you're doing nothing wrong, that's because they don't understand our rights and the purpose of it. Good people that just don't understand. Well, I'm not doing nothing wrong. Why would I care?
Yeah.
Well, you care because the government will continue encroaching. They're not going to stop. Mm-hmm. Gavin Newsom was issuing citations in California during COVID to people at the beach by themselves. Imagine if he'd had these flock cameras 6 years ago.
Yeah.
He'd have been imprisoning people. And that's the next step, digital currency. They'll use the flock cameras and AI, and they'll stop your bank account. That's what they do. That's the nature of bureaucracy. That's the nature of humanity. We're a fallen species. Read the Bible. That's what it says. Mm-hmm. And we're inherently, somehow we think our leaders are going to be better than us. How many of us fail daily?
Yeah.
And so we always want the best, but we need to expect the worst.
Yeah.
The possibility is out there for them to totally subjugate us and take our freedoms. We need to stop that.
So here's the Newsmax article that I referenced in the monologue that says, flock cameras targeted as privacy fight escalates, a growing backlash against flock safety. Automated license plate reader cameras has fueled a wave of vandalism across the country, with privacy advocates pushing for tighter restrictions on the technology, while law enforcement argues the systems are valuable crime-solving tools. So I guess you go back to that CEO, Garrett Langley, and his comment about domestic terrorism. He thinks that the DFLOC organization is telling everybody where the cameras are, and then there are some civil disobedient-minded Americans that are like, okay, well, we'll just cut them down. I mean, this isn't the first time we've seen this. I mean, you've seen it across the pond. It's been happening in Europe for a while, and so now people are starting to destroy the cameras.
And that's a shame. Well, I hate the idea that our society is breaking down because people feel like they're not being heard.
Mm-hmm.
But I also remember at our founding a little thing called the Boston Tea Party.
Yep, that's kind of what it feels like, honestly.
The crown was not listening to the colonists, and they had a Boston Tea Party. I kind of feel like this is similar right here.
Yeah, it is. Here's the CNN article. Let's see here. Flock cameras are getting mobbed. And then here is DFLOC. So this is the organization that's keeping track of license plate readers and that sort of thing. Welcome to DFLOC, an open source project mapping license plate readers. 123,000. Actually, let's actually show this clip right here. So this is a post of a video that is going to be difficult. It's really dark. It's going to be difficult for people to see, but let's try to go full screen. So here's the United States. It's a 23-second video, and you're going to see a timeline here from January 1st of 2024 and how many flock cameras there were January 1st of 2024 versus how many there are today. Watch this. Okay, so that's a big uptick right there. Let me. I'm going to pause it here in a second. Started it over on accident. So they start to spread out. So that's a lot. December 30th of 2024, they were starting to ramp up. Okay, so at the end of 2024, starting to ramp up. But look what happened all last year. So now that's basically July 18th of this year. And this isn't the only video I've seen like that, but that's a lot.
That's unbelievable.
At the same time, we're also, the data centers are going in like crazy. They have to be connected, right? That's not a conspiracy theory. These data centers and something like this, I mean, it literally looks like a virus that's spreading across our country.
It does, and so many people aren't awake to what the real problem is and what it ultimately will happen if this isn't checked at some point. You won't have freedom. You won't have the right to be free from unreasonable searches because they will know everything about you, everything. That's concerning.
Yeah,
that's not what our founders intended.
Do you buy the idea with it coming back to AI? Do you buy the idea, Tim, that this is an AI arms race with other countries like China? And do you think that that's true?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'll get into my philosophical opinion about AI if you want me to.
Yep, I would love to hear it.
At no point in the history of the world has revelation been possible.
You're talking about like end times,
the mark of the beast, and no one will be able to buy or sell without the mark. That has never been possible until very recently, and we're fast approaching that point because of AI. I do believe that AI can be a great good, and I believe it can be a great evil. Absolutely, I believe we're in an arms race with other countries because that's what humanity does. I mean, we had the first nuclear bomb, and what happened almost immediately after that?
We started getting visited by aliens.
Well, I mean, it wasn't but just days until Russia started developing a bomb.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I'm sorry. I know. Didn't mean to derail the conversation, but
well, and let's go with aliens because they're not aliens.
Right, we all know
they're demons.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so
yeah, no, I'm there right there with you on that. That's I've actually had that opinion for 20 years.
Yeah,
yeah. So here. Okay. So here's my problem with the whole. We've got to do this to keep up with China, because I don't doubt that China's a threat, but like they're still able to own land next to our military bases. We're still allowing all of these Chinese students to come here. because we've been told, President Trump says that it would be bad for the university system if we didn't.
Well, no one said our politicians were smart.
Well, my point is, it's like, let's be consistent here, right? I do think China's a threat, but I also, at the same time, I'm like, this to me feels like a bunch of governments that are not monolithic, which is something we have to we have our intel oligarchy in our government that has not yet been brought to heel. You have other governments that are made up of factions and coalitions, just like ours is, and you think, seems like everybody's, we're doing this in the name of an arms race, but to your point previously, I mean, it seems like a way to enslave the entire planet, and where there's literally no place to go to be free.
We've taken pretty big steps in stopping the liberal theft of our freedoms. The insanity that the left had under Biden and Obama, we've done pretty good at checking it. We haven't stopped it. I believe that AI and everything that goes with it is going to set up the next president. If it's not Vance or Rubio or someone that's of the right opinion, it's going to set them up to just warp speed the Biden agenda. Those folks that are arguing for, transgender rights and kids should have genital mutilation, and they haven't stopped believing that.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And this right here, this AI, this flock, this tracking of people is just going to enable them to advance that agenda at a warp speed.
Yeah. Do you ever think the arrogance of calling them flock cameras and how insulting that is? I mean, we brought this up the other day, but how it's almost like they have to. They're going to have to tell us what they're doing to get our consent. Well, we called it a flock camera. If you couldn't figure out that we think that you're livestock, you're the sheep.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that so arrogant? And I mean, that makes the name almost makes me more angry than the action of taking the right away.
If you
How
listen,
dare you?
If you listen to people, they'll usually tell you what they're thinking. You just have to be sharp enough to pick up on it.
Yeah.
This is very concerning, and I'm going to tell you a comment I got on my post, that one post, and I've made several, but that one post, I had a local politician, and it kind of hurt me. So, well, this is a local issue. Okay, how is the Fourth Amendment a local issue? Mm-hmm. How is the Second Amendment? We've in Arkansas, we have said that cities and counties cannot enact gun laws. That the state law overrides it. But somehow my right to be free from unreasonable search is a local issue. So Jonesboro has different rules on searching me than West Memphis. It can't work like that. We can't have different court rules depending upon what city you're in and where you're arrested. This is a basic human rights issue. This is a government leave me alone issue. And it's that. People just don't understand the broadness of this issue and what could happen with it. Well, that's a local issue, isn't it? Just tell your city council you don't want them and they'll stop. Yeah, I'll get right on that. That's not the way this works. You're violating my rights. Mm-hmm. So what do we do about it? I'm asking you, what do we do about it?
Well, working within the confines of the system and legally speaking, you've got to demand that the state bans this type of technology because of the Fourth Amendment. But then you're going to have the argument, I can already hear it. Oh, so you want more child rapists to get away and more kidnappers to get away? Like that's what you want. That's what they're literally doing. The whole, well, give us your freedom and we'll give you security. Trade the freedom for security. I mean, that's what they're going to say.
Well, when they do that to me, I just tell them that's a disingenuous question. That's like asking me, do I beat my dog or my wife? Well, it's neither one.
Right.
You're not being genuine with that correlation there.
Yeah.
No, I don't want more child predators to be loose and go free. Are you crazy? But then again, I don't want my rights taken. Freedom is dangerous. And some people have forgotten that we have to have a little bit of danger to be free people. The government can't take care of you. You call 911 and they take 10 minutes to get there. How many times have you been shot in 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Ultimately it is your job to take care of your family and yourself. It's a government job to document who did something wrong. And to sit there and say, well, it's all about your safety. Well, my safety is my responsibility.
Right.
If not, why has the Supreme Court ruled that police have no duty to protect me? The Supreme Court has said that. And okay, I hate to quote the Supreme Court because they've overturned themselves 240 times. But again, that's what we have, right? The Supreme Court has said police have no duty to protect. So why are we dependent upon the government to protect us? Well, this is about safety. No, it's not. It's about control. Ultimately, it's about control. That's going to be used to take your freedoms.
Yeah, what's interesting is I actually have kind of like a little bit of a history with this, specifically in Northeast Arkansas, just because I don't know. I'm so old now. I'm 42 years old. I don't know if you know how old I am now, but I'm 42. Wake up every day.
I remember when you were a young pup.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So 42 years old, so I don't know how long ago this was, but it was one of the first issues where the stoplights in the town, in Jonesboro specifically, we always had the pads in the front where I think it was some sort of magnetic field technology. You break the magnetic field, the light knows there's a car there, so now the cycle starts and it'll eventually turn green or whatever. But then they abandoned that technology and they started putting cameras up there.
Right.
And we were told at the time, and I was looking, I was like, wow, is that a camera? And this was back during, the Obama years where we all know the government was growing at lightning speed, and we were all saying, hey, this is not going to work out good for us. And we're like, why are they putting cameras up there? So we started asking questions of the city officials and that sort of thing. And they're like, they're just sensors. Don't worry about it. It's just a sensor, it is a camera. And I'm like, well, does it generate an image? And they're like, well, yeah, it does generate an image. And I'm like, well, where does that image go? Well, the image goes to the panel at each individual stoplight. And if you wanted to, you'd have to have a reader, you'd plug it in, and you could actually see the image. And I was like, okay, so it stops right there. And they're like, yes. I was like, well, can you guarantee that it will eventually, that it'll never go to some centralized city hub database? And they're like, well, no, we can't. And lo and behold, eventually, all of the cameras were networked and funneled into one giant bat cave type, monitoring surveillance. It's surveillance is what it is. I mean, it's like, why put a camera up there if you're not planning on being able to see every street corner there is? And that was 15 years ago, 10, 15 years ago. And now it's just with the AI and the software, now they're able to read. I didn't realize, I knew they could read the license plates. I did not know that they're reading the VIN number of your car as well. That's insane.
Did we not just pass a law that they're going to have cameras inside your vehicle looking at you to make sure you're okay?
Yeah, there's patents that Ford has secured, biometric sensors readings, that sort of thing, which is crazy. Matter of fact, they're trying to put in ways where if people tamper with it and take it out, it'll void the warranty. But I will just tell you this: if there's a business that if you want an idea for a business and you're technically minded, being able to basically free these new cars that are going to come off life, if you can somehow free them, people are going to pay you money to do that, and they're going to pay you handsomely to make your car a freedom car. You could call the business Freedom Cars, but just that's an idea because you're being tracked right now. I mean, the stuff in the new cars now is actually pretty terrible.
See, my problem with Flock and where we're at, everyone, I got this on that post that, well, they're already tracking you everywhere you go with your cell phone.
That's true.
This is true. But I can leave my cell phone at home. I can turn my cell phone off. I can not have a cell phone. I can choose not to participate in cell phones. Mm-hmm. I have to travel. Everyone has to do, go to the store, go to family.
To forage.
You have to do something.
Yeah.
Besides setting your home. And the fact that you don't have a choice about it, there's such a huge difference. I understand that it's a private company, but I also understand the government is the one that's accessing that information. They're collecting it. They're basically like a private investigator that's turning over all of their findings to the cops.
Right.
So the cops don't have to get a warrant.
Right. Well, and on that issue too, because everything is being collected and monitored via cell phones, and we've just been okay with this, by the way, but it's a private company doing it. But we know because of Edward Snowden that U.S. government does not allow new technologies to be released to the public unless they are given a back door.
Absolutely.
Snowden exposed this. And so the idea that somehow this massive database is only going to stay in the confines of your city, if it's digitized, the U.S. government has access to it. So it is a surveillance state. And the question, if you have that kind of technology, is, well, why would they ever use it for bad? Well, to your previous point about our fallen nature, it's why wouldn't they do it? And then you combine that with the total lack of accountability that we've had from these deep state actors and how they use the surveillance state against the presidential candidate, against the American people during COVID. It is extremely dangerous how close we are to completely losing our country.
I know your feelings and opinions about voting machines.
Yes.
And how they're not secure, they're hackable,
Right.
Elections can be stolen.
Right.
And I think we all agree that the 2020 election was stolen.
Yeah.
Okay. So other than the government accessing this information, how many corporations and other governments, other countries' governments, are hacking into Flock and getting my personal information?
Great point.
Well, why would they do that? Well, I mean, okay, we're the only country in the world that has more guns than people. Mm-hmm. And if I want to do something bad in America, I want to know who has the guns. What better way than to start using Flock and AI to determine who's a threat and who isn't? Mm-hmm. I'm not even talking about our own government doing it. I'm talking about Cuba or terrorists from Iran or other bad actors that have evil intention. When the information's out there and something bad can happen, it will happen eventually. And that's what Flock is going to allow to happen if it's not happening already.
You're exactly right. And I hadn't considered that. I hadn't considered the foreign aspect of it. Tulsi Gabbard's findings in President Trump's speech a couple of weeks ago, essentially saying that, hey, yeah, these machines are vulnerable. They went down the rabbit hole with the Venezuela connection. Didn't go as far as I believe. It wasn't. It didn't say that the machines were hacked in the 2020 election, but it did reference that being the case in a Venezuela test site. Anyway, it didn't go as far as I believe it actually went in 2020. I mean, I do think, obviously, I think it was an all of above approach, like mail-in ballots, and we also have the machines if we need them. That's my opinion. But back to this. So what are ALPRs? Automated License Plate Readers. This is from the DFlock website. So go to dflock.org, folks, if you want to get involved. You want to know, hey, does my city have a bunch of Flock cameras? Automated license plate readers are AI-powered cameras that capture and analyze images of all passing vehicles, storing details like your car's location, date, and time. They also capture your car's make, model, color, and identifying features such as dents, roof racks, bumper stickers, often turning these into searchable data points. These cameras collect data on millions of vehicles regardless of whether the driver is suspected of a crime. The systems are marketed as indispensable tools to fight crime, but they ignore powerful tools police already have to track criminals, such as cell phone location data, creating a loophole that doesn't require a warrant. Honestly, this is a tough one to defeat. I mean, I'm not saying that local governments can't get involved. States can't regulate their cities. They obviously can. Cities exist because the states allow them to exist. But when you really think about it, this right here, it's, you know what I mean? We've kind of already lost the battle, haven't we? I mean, if you think about it, I know you can leave your phone at home. I get that. But, like, man, we are so dependent on these things. And this is a curse as much as it is a useful piece of technology a lot of times.
So I'm one of those old dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Almost everywhere I go, I spend cash.
Good for you.
I don't use credit cards. I don't use debit cards. I don't write I use cash. I honestly would not have a problem if the internet crashed today and it never existed again. Are they convenient? Absolutely. Absolutely, phones are convenient. But they are tracking us. They are storing our information. If I say something to my wife about wanting to go somewhere, it's not 5 minutes and an ad's popping up on Facebook about that place I wanted to go. So obviously they're listening to us. And we will stop allowing that at some point, or we will lose all of our freedoms. Mm-hmm. And what I'm afraid of is my generation, and I'm quite a bit older than you, we could set our cell phones down, because we grew up without them. But today's generation doesn't understand that. They don't have any point of reference. They couldn't survive without their cell phone, and that's a problem. We've kind of programmed them.
Yeah,
and it's going to take something really big to stop that.
There's also like a psychological, some psychological results. Generation Alpha is the first generation that knows that it knows that it knows that everything they're doing is surveilled. They got it. They know it.
Yeah.
And so it's producing two paths. And I talked to a fellow millennial, younger millennial than I am. I'm an older millennial technically. I'm right on the cusp. But a friend of mine said, "Hey, look, there's two paths these Gen Alpha people are going. Okay, they're either extremely antisocial, and they're not going to parties, and they're kind of all consumed with their phone or their internet. And one of the reasons they said is because they're terrified of being in some video where something cringy happens and they're the subject of mockery, and so they're not even allowed to be kids anymore. I mean, think of the stuff you did growing up. Think of stuff I did growing up. Man, I'm so glad I didn't have social media. If social media had been around when I was growing up, I mean,
I had my youngest son. I had Life 360. And could keep track of where he was at and where he's going and whose friend's house. And thank God my parents didn't have that for me, because they really believed that I was at the gym.
Yeah.
I mean, we were allowed enough freedom to grow up in my generation, and we have so many side rails on our children today that they're not allowed. That we wonder why they maybe don't share the same work ethic that we had. We wonder why they or staying at home in their mom's basement. Well, because we're not encouraging them to be grown-ups, to be adults. We're controlling everything about them and not giving them the freedom to make mistakes.
Yeah.
I mean, I made a lot of mistakes.
Yep.
And learned from every one of them, some more painfully than others.
Well, so that's the first path, is the antisocial path. And then the other path from these Gen Alpha people is shock and awe, and let's just, let's do a lot of culture jamming, is what Alex Stein would call it, where we do mass public displays of shock and awe to just, they're angry, they're upset, they do not like, they're able, I think, in a lot of cases, to properly articulate a lot of the problems that we have going on in our country today, and they're over it and they're done with it and they want something different. So in that, there's a spark, I think, in a lot of these kids that is a liberty-minded spark, but it can also very easily go to a socialist. It can also get funneled into some sort of social, just anything to see the power structures and the people that never face accountability be punished or go away, and that's the danger. Is which direction does this actually go? You and
I both know that defunding the police is insanity.
Yes,
we know that we cannot function as a society without police officers.
Right.
But when we see a degradation of trust in public institutions, which we're seeing daily, ultimately that means freedom's going away, because freedom does not exist in a vacuum. And when freedom disappears, Marxism, communism, totalitarianism replaces it. It just does. So, yeah, what you're talking about is when they lose confidence in the institutions, they're going to swing towards the even further left, because there's no other choice. They want a strong leader. They want someone that's going to change, that's going to make a difference. And, I mean, we all know Fauci should be in prison.
Right.
And how many of us think he's going? None of us. Does that make you feel good about our institutions? No, it erodes your confidence in our institutions. And we can name at least a dozen other examples just like that. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that that's not intentional, by the way. That they want us to lose confidence in our institutions. Yeah. Because we'll be easier to control in the long run.
Yeah. What about, I mean, does it, we didn't plan to go here, but do you think what if the solution did come from the right? In terms of, I mean, the left are communists. I mean, and we've known that for, a very, very long time. And, you go back and you can look at the history of communist uprisings, the successful ones and the unsuccessful ones. And I think it was Harrison Smith that posted about this today. I saw it, so that's why I'm just bringing it up, that in all the unsuccessful ones, it took the military to actually do something about it. I mean, there are issues right now that are and I talked about this with a friend of mine named Jeff Younger, where I mean, if you had a direct, I'm not advocating for a direct democracy, so hear me that. But if you had a direct democracy right now, and the vote was legitimate, there would be mass deportations, and you would be able to ban child genital mutilation that they call healthcare overwhelmingly. It would be an overwhelming issue. I mean, just look at the SAVE Act. We want the SAVE Act. 90% of the people support it. They say no. You have you get the, but it's all because of the donors, right? They don't want it yet. You get to this.
You're a smart guy, Paul.
Oh yeah, I'm a smart guy.
Democracy is two wolves in a sheep deciding what to have for dinner.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not advocating it. I'm articulating the problem of the total inaction and how we're constantly being sold out. And what I'm saying is this younger generation, they don't want to give honor where honor's not due. I don't think when they grow up, I don't think they're going to be beholden to the Constitution the way we are. And whether it comes from the left or the right, somebody that says, you know what, I'm just going to make these people stop.
Yeah.
And I think in my lifetime, I think that's a real possibility, because right now things just seem so, like you said, a cascading failure of confidence top to bottom right now.
I hope you're wrong. I hope we can still stop that downward trajectory. I hope that
I do too.
I hope that sanity prevails.
I do too.
You could be right. I mean, I've often said you'll pry my weapon from my cold dead hand.
Right.
And I mean that.
Yes.
You'll also take away my freedoms from my cold dead hands. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to allow my Fourth Amendment to be taken. I'm not going to allow my Second Amendment, my First Amendment. I just won't comply. During COVID, I'm the guy that deliberately walked down the wrong way at Walmart.
Yes,
just because they had arrows.
Yes. Who else in the chat did that? Where you saw the arrows and you're like, I'm not doing this.
We literally, my wife and I literally traveled to like 27 states during COVID, during the travel bans, and we never wore masks. I testified at the legislature during COVID, during session, and one of the audience members said, "Mr. Chair, will you make that gentleman put a mask on?" And he said, "Mr. Loggins, will you put a mask on?" I said, "No, sir. I can't wear a mask." I was prepared to be escorted out.
Yeah, right.
Okay, I did not comply. I will not comply. And if whatever that means, and see, I think ultimately that's how we do preserve our freedoms. When enough people say no, that doesn't mean we have to be violent. That doesn't mean we have to overthrow the government. When enough people just say no, I've had enough. I'm not doing that. Mm-hmm. Throw your phones away. Turn the computer off. Grow a garden. Find a friend that farms and buy cows from. When we turn off what they're telling us we're supposed to be doing, when enough of us do it, that will become normal. And until that point, I mean, if we're not willing to stand for freedom, then of course they're going to take our freedoms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A few of the comments here over in the chat. I asked that question just a second ago. Let me see here. I did the same, meaning they didn't refuse to walk down the aisles the way they were. We've got a bunch of people saying that. So we're in good company with this audience. But yeah, I think you're right. Just saying, hey, no, I refuse to comply. That's certainly a strategy. I guess what brings to mind is this. I mean, the more AI changes things, the more AI comes at us and kind of digitizes everything, and we rely on it. I do think there's going to be this movement, and I've talked about this before, Tim. The neo-Amish, right? We'll still love light bulbs and basic technology, right? But there's going to come this point where people say, if you can't know, especially with online communication, not understanding, not knowing if the person you're talking to is a machine or not, so there's going to be a natural human desire to know that you're communicating somebody that has a soul. And I think with a lot of the totalitarian aspirations that could come, a lot of the dehumanizing realities that could emerge from this, I think the counter movement could actually be something that is really specifically it'll come from a Christian standpoint specifically. I think it could be something that could be really good for society as a whole. So you never know what'll be used for, what is intended for evil will be used for good. Is what I'm trying to say.
I believe that ultimately all of this is going to be God's will. and it's
Yeah,
going
of
to go. It's
course.
going to go where God wants it to go.
Yeah, of
and it's
course.
going to be used for His purposes, no matter what. There is great potential for good and great potential for evil in AI and in flock cameras. I mean, we don't even have to dig all the way into AI. Flock cameras are not evil. They're a useful technology, but they've got to have rules and guidelines on them. Any other situation, law enforcement needs a warrant, but not with flock. Well, that kind of needs to be wait a minute. If you did this any other way, you would have to have a warrant. Okay, with flock, you got to have a warrant as well. And that's kind of the conversation we should be having with our legislators and our leaders about that. Is like, no one wants to necessarily do away with flock. I don't think that's going to happen, because I mean, the genie's out of the bottle, right? It's not just the city governments that are buying the cameras. I mean, literally neighborhoods are buying them. So the conversation needs to be, well, what are the guidelines and the guardrails? You know, if they want to do a search of my home, if they want to do a search of my travel, they'll need a warrant. They don't with flock. Well, we just need to say, guess what? You need a warrant.
Well, how would that even work, though? By the way, there is this city, Monroe County. Where is this? In Indiana, looks like. Another Indiana municipality is getting rid of its license plate reading cameras over privacy concerns. Monroe County voted to cancel its contract with Flock Safety as the debate over the cameras continues to grow. So some people are undoing it. So that is possible. But to your point, right, the technology's out there. You may win a battle here or there. How would that work if they're recording everything all the time? They're not getting a warrant. You can't get a warrant. You can't get a blanket warrant on everybody in your city. So how does that even work?
In order to use the information for any criminal prosecution, in order to actually access your name, your data, your vehicle, they would have to have a warrant.
So everything has to be totally anonymous then. Everything
Yes.
they grab, they can't say, hey, this license plate is a vehicle registered to Paul Harrell.
Correct.
They can only capture the information.
I think that's the solution. And I want to go back to what you said about Monroe County and some localities are doing away
Yeah.
with flock. They are. But I'm very interested to know how many of those still have flock there that are being paid for by private entities. There are several cameras in Jonesboro that the city's not paying for.
Yeah.
Neighborhoods, HOAs, and individuals and companies have installed the flock, and they're paying the $3,500 a year for that camera, but the information is being shared with JPD and all other law enforcement across the country. So just because the city's not buying it
Right.
doesn't mean that same information isn't still there.
Well, I even found a different conspiracy theory that on the online today. I didn't run it down, but it does kind of sound like something that could be true, where they're saying actually all of this anti-flock is actually being pushed as a psyop by Flock's competitor, and people they're talking about people buying this other company that's going to take over what Flock is doing. So I mean, it is real. It's a real phenomenon. I don't know though that I would even trust that. I mean, what you described is a situation where they have to get a warrant. The data is still being collected. You and I both know.
I mean, how many
You
law
know,
enforcement?
Look at the FISA warrants that they got that are totally bogus, and the FISA court judges were either in on it or they were lied to. I think they were in on it. You know what I mean? Like the presence of the technology, in my opinion, I would want a total ban on it, but I also understand how unrealistic it is, and so I don't know what to do.
How do you ban Walmart from putting flock cameras in their parking lot?
Yeah, I don't know. You would have to say, hey, we're
As a conservative,
we divorce, this destructive AI technology. We're divorcing it from our society. We're holding it up, saying this is wrong. You can't do
right.
it.
So I mean, that's the difficulty I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And Walmart and Home Depot and whatever other
Right.
places in Jonesboro that have those cameras. That, oh, by the way, still goes through the command center at JPD. That's just as big a problem as Jonesboro paying for it themselves. It just is. So what is the answer? I'm not sure what the answer is, but we've got to put some guardrails up. We've got to put some type of who's watching the watchers. Mm-hmm. That's we haven't even defined that at this point. What is the process? I was talking to an attorney today about flock and the possibility of suing in a deprivation of rights under color of law lawsuit simply because they're collecting the data, giving the geofencing
ruling from the
SCOTUS ruling.
Supreme Court. Yeah. What was the name of that ruling again?
Chattery, Chatrie, I believe, versus United States. If you look up geofencing SCOTUS decision, yeah, that's it.
6-3 came down June 29th. Law that enforcement acquisition of cell phone location data via a geofence warrant constitutes a Fourth Amendment search. So the majority held that individuals maintain a reasonable expectation of privacy in their digital location records, even when stored by a third-party tech company.
That's
Boom.
my point.
Boom.
Yeah. And I'm not sure how any locality can now say that they're not violating your rights given this ruling. Now, Flock hasn't actually been to court, but this is so similar to the geofencing. It's so similar. I can't imagine the SCOTUS saying, "Oh no, this doesn't count."
Yeah.
But it's got to go to court, right?
Right.
But yeah, I was talking to an attorney about it and seeing what the process would be. And first of all, you got to do a FOIA and say, have they located? Did they get your data?
Mm-hmm.
Which, if you drive in Jonesboro at 54 locations, you know they're collected your data. Mm-hmm. And then you have to prove that under color of law, that's a violation of your rights. So I think that's coming. I mean, I'm not saying I'm going to do it, but I think someone's going to do it.
Right.
And it might be me, just because. I have a real problem with this.
I think it should be you. I think it 100% should be you, Tim Loggins. You should do this.
We'll see. I mean, I would love to go to City Council and see if they will do something about it and address it. I mean, right now, City Council is not even approving the Flock budget because Flock is part of the technology budget of JPD. So they're not even really discussing Flock cameras.
Oh, you mean so they just approve the police department's budget and then it's all discretionary up to them?
Well, it's Flock is coming out of the technology budget. They have part of their budget is, patrol, blah, blah, blah. One of the breakdowns is technology. Oh, by the way, that could be body cameras, that could be radios, that could be. Well, Flock comes out of that, $189,000 a year. So it's not like a line item where the city council goes down and checks everything that the chief says he needs to get. Mm-hmm. I need this amount for my technology budget. Okay.
Yeah.
I would love to do that. I would love to see our legislators down in Little Rock actually put some type of guidance on this. I mean, we've got rules of courtroom, of criminal procedure, where whether I'm in Fort Smith or Jonesboro, I face the same things in court, right? My attorneys all know the rules, the judges all know the rules, and we all play by the same rules. We got some cities in Arkansas that don't have Flock cameras. We got some that have turned them in. We've got some that are buying more. We got some that are sharing that data with the feds, and we got some that won't share it with. It's kind of like the Wild West right now. You know, there's some of the liberal cities, and that's, by the way, another talking point. Well, if you're against Flock cameras, it's because you're anti-ICE, because immigration officials are using that to track illegals. Isn't it funny how we always demagogue somebody, how we use a bad example to if they don't agree with us?
Right. We can be against mass surveillance state and also be for deportations and getting rid of illegals.
Right.
Like, I don't want to give up my rights. You know, that goes back to this that Gen Alpha thing. Like, yeah, give up your rights so that we make the bad guys stop. But then you'll never, in all likelihood, get your rights back. So, can you hang out a little bit longer?
If you need me to.
Yeah. I just want to go to break, and when we come back, we'll continue this discussion. Before we go to break, though, I want to remind everybody that the Paul Harrell program is powered by the Healing Veterans Project. If you're just joining us, if you're new to the show, the Healing Veterans Project has only been around a couple of weeks at this point. Go to healingveteransproject.us. That's healingveteransproject.us. You see the QR code on your screen there. This is a easy way. You just scan the QR code. You can donate monthly. You can donate one time. You can donate quarterly, annually, whatever you want to do. Well, the purpose of Healing Veterans is very simple. We have a list of veterans, a growing list of veterans that have been prescribed red light panels, also called photobiomodulation, by their doctor, and the VA doesn't cover this because it's just not a technology that Big Pharma wants to acknowledge exists yet because it's not as profitable. But red light and near-infrared light, you guys have heard me talk about it for a long time. It actually is a proven science. It's called photobiomodulation. It's a biohack. The red light does incredible things for your skin, your eyes. The near-infrared light that is a part of these panels penetrates deep into your skin, which stimulates the mitochondria of your organs, your bones, your tissues, your subcutaneous fat, and it has an analgesic effect. It even also reduces chronic pain, nerve pain, PTSD, anxiety. It sounds like it does everything, but folks, go do the research. It really, truly does. And also when you consider how we're being bombarded by all this blue light all the time. This spectrum on this is the same spectrum that you see when the sun rises and the sun sets. That's the red light that's targeted in these medical-grade panels. You actually need it. It helps regulate your sleep in a lot of ways. We're just trying to get veterans this technology. They'll get prescribed a Vicodin. They'll get prescribed an opioid. But they won't get this, which is non-pharmaceutical. That's what we're talking about here. Go to healingveteransproject.us. That's healingveteransproject.us. And if you have a business, or you are a business owner, or you know somebody has a business, email me, paul@healingveteransproject.us, paul@healingveteransproject.us. You see it on your screen, because we can make it work. We can even give you a marketing fee, partnering with us, setting this all up at the point of sale to where your customers can donate $1, $5 to Healing Veterans Project. So reach out to me, paul@healingveteransproject.us, and we will make it happen. Folks, we're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back here in just a moment.
For centuries, light has been used to heal. Awaken the body with Red Vive.
Why is Red Vive different? What sets it apart? What sets us apart from the standard red light panels? This is a medical grade device, and what that means is the red light bulbs and the near-infrared bulbs have very specific wavelengths. If you think about the wavelength as the medicine, the 635, the 670, the 810, the 850, those were specifically chosen because those are the most powerful effectors of the cells. So those specific wavelengths, when they get into our body, when they affect our tissue, they spike energy production, they help with nerve pain control, they increase stem cell counts. There's very specific mechanisms that those specific wavelengths work at, and that's the medicine. So if you think of, say, medicine as an Advil or a specific steroid or a blood pressure medication, the wavelength is the medication. The other part of that, whenever you take a medication, is dose. Right? So you have the medication. So if you take 1 milligram of Advil, and the average dose of an Advil is 200 milligrams to 800 milligrams, it's not going to work. That doesn't mean the medicine's bad. It just means you didn't take enough. Right? And so even if you have the right wavelengths, first you have to have the right medicine, and then you have to have the right dose. And to have the right dose, you have, in light therapy, you have to have enough energy. So you have to have a powerful bulb. The LED bulbs, or light-emitting diodes, have a specific wavelength, and that wavelength is the medicine. And the wavelengths that have been studied and published on that are the most powerful in affecting healing and the changes that we want to see with our bodies and our health are the 635 wavelength, the 670, 810 nanometer wavelength, and 850 nanometer wavelength. Those are all going to affect the mitochondria, the cytochrome C oxidase, and affect those powerful long-term changes and affect that downstream pathways. And that's what you get with Red Vive devices. The highest efficacy, the best wavelengths, concentrated to help your health.
My name is John, and this is my beautiful wife, Lori, and this is our Star Wars Ewok. His name is Scout, and we have Scout for about 11 years now, and we started noticing about 3 years ago he started slowing down. He was unable to jump on the bed. He was kind of a little bit grumpier, and when my daughters, Macy and Mariah, would take him on walks, he would walk for about 30 yards, and then he'd lay down, and they'd carry him the rest of the way. So I heard about Pet Club 24/7 and about the products from a gentleman that I really trust and share a friendship with. And he mentioned to me that they have products that are going to help him with his arthritis, help him build his immune system. And I said, okay, no problem. Let's try them out. And I kid you guys not, within about 2 to 3 days, we started noticing a little difference. And then we took Scout on a walk probably about a week after we started using the products, the mush puppies, and he would walk the entire way. He would walk at least a mile, and it's just been completely amazing. He's a new dog. He's 11 years old, which is around 80 years in dog years, and he's just happy. He's more energetic. He's not the grumpy old man he used to be, and we're just so thankful. And it was perfect timing because we lost our boxer Yankee about a year and a half ago, and it was really hard on us. So I'm so thankful for Pet Club 24/7 for the products that they offer. Imagine if you could have your best friend around one more day or one more week or even one more year. I'm so blessed and thankful that we were able to find this company and find these products for Scout. So thank you guys. Give it a shot. We appreciate you. God bless everyone.
MyPillow's second annual mega sale is finally here. Get our patented premium MyPillows that adjust to your exact individual needs to give you the best sleep of your life.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
Now for the lowest price ever. Kings, $19.98. Queens, only $18.98. And Giza Dream bed sheets, the best sheets in history, for as low as $29.98. Lux Pure 6-piece towel sets, towels that actually dry you. What a concept. Now only $39.98. And our made in the USA mattresses and mattress toppers as low as $99.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. But that's not all. Order right now and we'll ship your order absolutely free.
The Paul Harrell Program.
All right, welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for being with us, everybody. Really do appreciate it. Broadcasting live from the state of Arkansas. So I misspoke earlier when we signed off, and Mr. Tim Loggins was going to stick around with us for a little bit, but he had a previous engagement that he had to get to. So, but we do appreciate him spending over an hour with us on the show, updating. I knew that would be valuable information because he's former law enforcement, and one thing I didn't bring up is the fact that it does seem like law enforcement and the Fourth Amendment. It's not like this is the first time they've been at odds over the years. You know what I mean? It's kind of always the rub here. So, but yeah, the mass surveillance state has got to go. It has to be shut down. And the flock cameras. Somebody in the chat said, "What are flock cameras?" I wasn't listening. That she got educated, right? They're recording your license plate, your VIN number, and storing it all. And in the event that you commit a crime, they've got you right where they want you. Anyway, it's against the Fourth Amendment, as I said in the monologue. Totally against it, and yet this is just part of the slippery slope. It all started when Edward Snowden, as I said at the top, Edward Snowden predicted all of this. I mean, he didn't just predict it. He showed us what they were doing. He showed us programs like X Keyscore. And, of course, X Keyscore is this program that monitors every keystroke you make on the computer. And, when it's deployed, even if you were to write out, they know that they have stored the posts on Facebook that you are going to make and decided to delete and never posted. That's being stored somewhere. All digital communications are being recorded. We've heard that from William Binney back at the height of the Snowden revelations. He was going on CNN. Aaron Burnett's show, I think, is what it was back in the day. All digital communications are being recorded. And nobody did anything about it. There was never any legislative effort to do anything about it because the people in charge of, for the most part, the people in charge of monitoring or overseeing the authorities of our massive surveillance state, our intel oligarchy, they didn't do anything about it. And, why didn't they do anything about it? Well, many people think, I think rightly so, that those on those committees are afraid of the intelligence community. Remember Chuck Schumer saying if Trump goes after the intel communities, they've got 7 ways to Sunday to get back at you. Of course, we didn't know at the time, maybe some people did, that they had already conducted an illegal spying operation, framed him for treason, framed Russia as well, and here we are. So, and, we're still waiting on the whole accountability thing as well. So, which I'm not holding my breath at this point. I mean, we just had I think a career criminal testify yesterday in the form of Anthony Fauci, and we almost immediately know nothing will happen to him. He will not actually pay for his COVID crimes. And in the meantime, I did get some more context on this story that we left you with yesterday, a story from Anthropic. So kind of bleeding over in from flock cameras to AI. Well, apparently they're destroying a lot of books. And so I got some more context on a post that I really didn't believe when I saw it, but it basically has to do with Anthropic and whether or not copying something and then keeping the original copy is an infringement on copyright versus copying something, transferring it, and then destroying the material, meaning you only have one of it, is not a copyright infringement, something that just makes absolutely no sense to me. But some guy named Evan Luthra says, this is effing disturbing. A leaked Anthropic document just came out in court. Their own words, Project Panama is our effort to destructively scan all the books in the world. Next line, we don't want it to be known that we are working on this. Is this the leaked document here? Anthropic is seeking an experienced document scanning service vendor to confront from 500,000 to 2 million books a 6 months period. Books may be used or used in good condition. Conversion services to be provided by experienced vendor. Books will be delivered over a 6 month period from January to June. Books will be cut to provide cost-effective conversion. If hardcover, the front and back covers do not need to be scanned. Books may be scanned grayscale at 200 dpi. Let's see here. Books will be delivered. Pallets, if necessary, remove any product covers. Books will be... So it doesn't say that here. I'm not seeing that. But anyway, this is the second time I've heard this claim, though. They plan to shred the book. They plan to shred books. It starts with theft. Anthropic stole... So this is the allegation here. Still trying to wrap my head around this. Anthropic stole 7 million books from pirate sites to train Claude because their CEO said paying authors was too much of a slog. Then the lawsuits hit, and they needed a legal way to keep going, so they hired the ex-head of Google Books and sent him to publishers to ask for permission. Publishers said no. That's when they found the loophole. You can apparently buy millions of real physical books, cut the spines off with a hydraulic blade, scan loose pages, and throw what's left in recycling. One vendor offered to destroy 2 million books in 6 months, 11,000 books a day. Now, the insane part, destroying the books is what makes it legal. This is the claim that we had yesterday on the show that I didn't quite believe. He says, if you scan a book and keep it, that's a crime. If you scan it and shred it, that's fair use, which still makes no sense to me. But the claim is that a judge actually approved this. And so this is the process that you see it there on your screen. We played this for you yesterday of them. This is how they're scanning these books in, and then in some cases we've got the reports that they're destroying the books. This is the clip that we played for yesterday. So I'm not exactly sure with Everybody is outraged by this new trend with the rise of AI. The real danger isn't AI scanning books, it's eliminating the last immutable copy of history. A digital archive can be edited, rewritten, censored, or quietly disappear. Do you remember? I actually went out, forget the books for a second, and just go to like physical media. There was talk years ago, maybe at the height of the left's control, where they were saying that Amazon was probably going to ban movies that they didn't like, movies like the classic Mel Brooks comedy Blazing Saddles, because it uses the N-word and everything else. Also makes fun of gay people. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe it was a psyop or whatever, but I certainly immediately ran out and got a copy of Blazing Saddles, all right? Or maybe I ordered it on Amazon, which is kind of funny. Likewise, there's a lot of people that were calling for Amazon to edit out Donald Trump's appearance in Home Alone Part 2. So I went and made sure that I had a physical copy of Home Alone Part 2. There's a few others that are like that you just kind of wonder, are they going to censor this? That's why I'm a huge fan of physical media, and I make sure to own all of the movies that I really, really like. I mean, if the left would, and I'm just telling you this because I know, obviously, one of my favorite movies of all time is, Lord of the Rings, if not the zenith. I think it's the zenith of all cinema. But with Lord of the Rings, I mean, we know the FBI, the communistic FBI, they love to put things out there like, if you're white, barbecue, shoot fireworks on the 4th of July, really love the American Revolution, you might be a terrorist. There's also been people on the left that have thrown in this love for Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, whether the books or the movies, because, number one, it's not a modernized film at all. They actually cast the film with all white people, right? I mean, all the main characters are white. They didn't gender swap. They didn't race swap. They didn't do any of that. Versus now, I mean, you can make the argument that the original Harry Potter movies, based on what the HBO is doing now, where they're race swapping one of the main characters and making them black when they were white, there is an editing that is going on. And so if you want to preserve your past, your history, your childhood, you need to own physical copies of things. Even the game Halo. For those of you who don't know this, Halo is actually... It was this amazing game that came out when I was in high school. It was a first-person shooter. You shoot up aliens with your, coincidentally, your AI, girlfriend, basically. She's not a girlfriend, but, and they have actually relaunched this game and updated all the graphics. And so instead of Halo Combat Evolved, they've renamed the original Halo Campaign Evolved, as a way to say, hey, play the game of your childhood with updated graphics, and, it's going to be really awesome and great, and everything's fantastic. The problem is there's already reports that the Halo team that put this together was predominantly female, and they actually did things in the game, and I'm going to look this up right now because I hadn't planned to go there. They actually looked this up in people have made photos of this where you cannot shoot women. So in the game, you're the good guy, and if you really want to have fun, or goof off or whatever, you can actually shoot your own troops that are there to help you with the mission, right? You can shoot your own troops, and the game will punish you for it and that sort of thing, because you're not supposed to do that, but you can do that. Well, they've actually figured out that you can only kill men. Like the women troops on the ship cannot be killed. So I'm told that there's a lot of females that are working for Halo. And so XGo says the new Halo game doesn't allow you to kill women, only men. And people are trying to do it. And, of course, they can kill the male soldiers, but the women soldiers can't even be touched. It's pretty crazy. They've also put some weird cutscene in there that highlights a woman and that was never in the original game, which is very, very odd. And then they've also changed Cortana the AI and made her look. Honestly, she looks like a man to me. They've totally changed how her face looks, and they've made her. There's been some. This is honestly, that looks like a dude wearing a wig. So they've made Cortana, who was this attractive AI by 2003 millennial standards. Because I grew up literally playing this game, and they've changed her face to look like that. So, I say all that to say, if you like the original versions of things, you better have a physical copy and not just rely on the digital. Because I was talking about this the other day with somebody, just in terms of the woke sex religion and how it's infiltrated everything, and how we have a long time to get out of this or whatever. You have these people who are in the art community. They've decided to be artists, and it's not just that they believe in their woke sex religion and they want to inject literally everything about their woke sex religion and make it propaganda, or it's not just that they take really, really good, valuable, popular intellectual property, case in point like Halo, and rebrand it and put their new modernized gay messaging in it. It's not just that. They're doing that, don't misunderstand me. But it's also a lack of talent with the people occupying these positions. It dawned on me the other day, I think generally speaking, these people are not smart, and they're really bad at their jobs. I mean, they're good at their jobs, which is just, putting propaganda in there. But just in terms of storyboarding, writing compelling dialogue, coming up with original ideas, they're not talented people. They're not talented artists anymore. And I'll tell you why, because being an artist, at least on paper, pun intended, you're supposed to be able to access a level of creativity that inspires your art or whatever. You have to be a creative person. Studies have shown, artistic people use different parts of their brain than maybe engineers do, this sort of thing, right? But creativity is one of those things. But when you are adhered to this woke sex religion, this dogma, it's literally, you're training yourself to not be creative, and you're putting up these artificial roadblocks to where you're not allowed to think about that. You're not allowed to go there. You're not allowed to do that because you have this dogma that's governing your life, whether it's diversity, equity, inclusion, or environmental social governance, or the fact that the Academy Awards, when they hand out those pagan Baal statues to these actors or whatever pagan god that is, they now have a criteria. Like, if you want to be considered for any sort of awards by the Academy, you have to have a quota, a racial quota, a girl boss quota, in order to even be considered. They don't want to promote any movies that don't fit their diversity, equity, inclusion quota system. Well, no wonder the art sucks, because you're putting a governor on the art. You're putting a limit on the art. Yes, they've got the people that are brainwashed and are doing all of this, and they have this agenda, but I'm just making the point, they're not good artists anymore, because they have put some sort of fake virtue signaling altruism that's not real onto everything they do. They're not allowed to be creative because there are some ideas that you're not even allowed to consider when writing, casting, producing, directing. And this goes not just for film, it goes for, it goes for the fake music, it goes for, theater shows and everything else and what's being written. So I once had an idea. I was very, very young. I was going to write a stage play about Stan Musial, and because I was like, it'd be really good, be baseball. I liked baseball. You'd call it Musial the Musical, Stan Musial, St. Louis Cardinal. And I had a person tell me, he said, well, Paul, it's a good idea, but unless you're prepared to put some sort of locker, and he was like, I don't think you are. I don't think you want to do this. I said, but it's never going to be a success unless you put some sort of male underwear locker room scene where, you know, everybody's gay and dances around. It'll never be popular. And I was like, yeah, you're probably right. And I'm not going to do that. So that was a very good piece of advice. In other news, let me check your comments first before I do anything else. What do we got? So Family Low over on LFA Chat says, it sucks because every once in a while a good movie is produced. I try to find the ones the critics hate. Those usually are the best. This is true. That is true. Dave 357 Mag, haven't gone to the movies in the last 10 years. Won't give them my money. I've had it. I can totally understand that. I mean, I'll tell you that the last movie that I went to see is that Mario Galaxy movie, because I had watched the first Mario movie, right, with my daughter, and we didn't go see it in theaters, but I watched it first, and then we watched, because I thought, okay, there's a little girl bossy. The princess got a little girl bossy, but for the most part, not really. I mean, it was a good movie. You know, it was a good movie, and it was just fun, and it was nostalgia, and there were so many Easter eggs from anybody that grew up playing Super Mario Brothers. It was a good movie. And so then we went and saw Mario Galaxy at the theaters, paid my money, did the popcorn, did the whole deal, and the movie was pretty good. It was nothing. Like, what I mean by that is, it's like the character development was terrible. But it was just a kids movie, you know. It wasn't some sort of, like, we already know who these people are. We know, like, we've played Mario, we know who these people are. We don't need some. It was just like, hey, here's a bunch of cool other new Nintendo characters that weren't in the first movie. We're going to put them in the second movie, Star Fox instead of Donkey Kong and everything else. And hey, boo, it's magic stars, and there's going to be a battle, and Bowser's good, now Bowser's bad, and the movie's over, and yay, everything's fine. I mean, that was it, and I actually liked it. It was just a fun movie to go watch, but it didn't take itself so seriously, and the critics didn't like it. There were critics that thought, "Oh man, I just can't. I don't know why they, this just all feels so forced, and where's the subtext?" And it's like, guys, it's a movie about a plumber that squashes turtles. Like, this is not highbrow stuff here. This is a movie based off of a video game. Like, what is wrong with you? And it's like it was so devoid of any message. And I kept thinking, there's got to be some sort of subversive message in this movie. Where is it? There really wasn't in the first one. And I kept thinking, like, there's got to be something here. There was nothing that I found, to the point where I thought I was missing something, and I was being tricked by the studio. But then you saw the mainstream critics' reaction to it, and you thought, oh, okay, yeah, they're just mad that it was just a plain vanilla kids movie. But if I'm missing something, I'd love to know. I'd love to change my opinion if there was some sort of overt symbolism. Family Low says they didn't make it woke. That's what's wrong. Yeah, that's what's wrong with it as far as the critics go. Yeah. So we have Dave 357 Mag. Every single expletive show has a gay in it. Just started Animal Kingdom from like 10 years ago. Of course, gay brother, done with that. Started kissing a guy, disgusting. Yeah, there's a lot of that now. A whole lot of that. They really forced that in, like, the this was 10 years ago. 10 years ago, it really amped up when you had the J.J. Abrams reboot of Star Trek. You remember that? The first one, when they had to, like, hijack the timeline of the original Captain Kirk and Spock and make a new Spock. And this is when Leonard Nimoy was, like, holding on for, in his life. He was, like, holding on by a thread. And then because the guy who originally played Sulu, who is the guy that originally played Sulu? He's a big leftist, big lib. Let me find out. I can't remember who played Sulu. Yeah. George Takei. George Takei. Yeah, this guy right here. So in the I think in the second Star Trek that they made, the reboot that they made, 10 years ago or whatever, George Takei was the original, and of course, so obviously go back and watch the original series of Star Trek. It's kind of obvious now George Takei was gay. I mean, there's some stuff that's not. I mean, but he played a straight guy. There were obviously it was the 60s. They weren't. But the actor himself, George Takei, is gay. And because he's gay, they had to make Sulu gay. Meaning the guy that played Sulu in the reboot, they made him gay. They stopped off at some star base or whatever, and there he greeted his husband, and they were walking off on leave when they had a little girl with them. So they started doing that really, really intentionally about 10 years ago. And it's obviously only gotten worse. Okay, hang on a second. You have ignored my comment. Outlawing flock cameras. I'm sorry, Calpurnia61. I apologize. Paul, you have ignored my comment about the Post Falls, Idaho mayor outlawing. Okay, all right, let me do this. Let me highlight your comment. And we try to be people pleasers here. Okay, I see right here. So what's the point, though? Give me more context, Calpurnia, other than this news story that I just found at your direction. City of Post Falls, Idaho, July 24th, 2026. With the recent concerns about flock cameras, I'd like to clarify the city's position. We do not and will not use flock camera systems in Post Falls. I'm firmly opposed to the unconstitutional mass surveillance and the destruction of large national databases which track the movement of citizens. Wow. Good for this guy, Randy Westland. We do have a limited and tightly controlled use of Motorola cameras that read license plates and check against the NCIC wanted list. We use these in cases like stolen vehicles, abducted children, and vehicles associated with active warrants. We do collaborate with federal law enforcement, including ICE. We own the cameras and the data, which is never shared commercially. Every use is connected to an active case, and access is regularly audited to prevent abuse. We do not and will not track movement of law-abiding residents. The system is configured for real-time notification against active wanted lists only. Idaho state law currently requires all cities to keep these images for a minimum of 2 years, and some jurisdictions keep them forever. I believe this is wrong and opens the door up to a myriad of privacy concerns. I call on our state legislators to amend state law to prevent the construction of tracking databases by requiring this data to be deleted within 90 days. This is a glaring flaw in our state code, which must be addressed ASAP. Please allow us to enforce the law while protecting the privacy of our residents. We are committed to enforcing the law without ever spying on citizens because good government is transparent. We will be publishing all our policies and procedures around our limited use of cameras in the coming days. Technology may be a tool, but never a crutch. We will never have a surveillance state in Post Falls. Randy Westland, Mayor, City of Post Falls. Well, it's good that somebody recognizes that the surveillance state is bad. But I will reiterate, let me check into the comments, though, real quick before I do, if Calpurnia said anything else. Okay, he believes spying on citizens is wrong. I totally agree. And it's good. I mean, you think, well, that's great. You have the cameras. They're only going to flag something if they read a license plate that has already been flagged or somebody's already got a warrant. And you think, okay, that's great. That's fantastic. The problem is, and that's why I started with Edward Snowden, there's a process in place. Everything sounds good. But if that thing is connected to the internet, folks, the government, the federal government, the intel oligarchy has it. They have it. They got it all. I don't care if you delete it after one day. They got it. It's theirs. Okay? This is the issue with the flock cameras that, they're bad for all kinds of reasons. But it's just, we have the technology to enslave ourselves. And even when local governments try to regulate and monitor and hold themselves accountable and put in processes. It does nothing. The federal government, here's the deal. If James Comey was in a position of power right now, which who knows what kind of off-site technology for these deep state guys, how many James Bond villain bases they still have access to. If James Comey was in the FBI right now, I promise you, he would have had access to that information. In a random city, if he wanted it, a random city, he's got it. Doesn't need their permission, can just get it. The NSA, they can get it because they already have it stored in their own data centers, the Utah data center from back in the day, if you remember that. So, but it is good that you got a mayor standing up for privacy. I mean, that is a good post from the Post Falls mayor. That's a good letter. I mean, I do like that. The issue with it is all of these things are vulnerable, just like the voting machines and everything else. It's all vulnerable, all going to the same place if they really want it to. So, I'm sorry I was on this tangent with Hollywood and everything else, but anyway, it's something pretty important to me. Hey, in other news, though, have you seen what's happening out of Spain? Spain is now granted amnesty to like 1 million illegals, and now their border is being overrun. Like 80,000 of them have come across in like a couple of days, or maybe even a single day. Breaking update: Spain's civil guard chief declares the border has totally collapsed. Thousands of military-age African men have poured over the border in the past several hours. This is because Spain just gave amnesty to illegals, and all amnesty does is encourage more illegal immigration.
Spain's North African enclave in Morocco. This is a city called Ceuta. You're watching as thousands of migrants break through the fence and completely overwhelm the border.
I'm told it
police.
was 80,000 people, like verified 80,000
mostly
people
young
in like one
military-age
day.
guys cramming into inflatable tubes or arriving on shore another way. Some of them wading in the water as they break through the gates to get to the other side. Sandra, this is reminiscent of kind of what we saw during the open border during the Biden administration through 2021.
Reminiscent of Camp of the Saints in my mind when I read that book, and I'm reading about the giant flotillas of Indians that are, coming to invade France. If you've ever read Camp of the Saints, you got to read it. Whatever you do, don't read the forwards or the preface. Like, start with the book, because the reprint actually explains a lot of the book and why it's not racist to read it. I mean, it's like this apology, and it's valuable after you read the book. But there's spoilers in it, and I got something spoiled in the first chapter. Something was spoiled because I read the forward or and I was like, man, I wish I hadn't known that was going to happen. It would have been so much more fun to read that one event that happens pretty early on in the story, and you're kind of like, wow, that's based. Here's a post from Lauren Witzke that has like a really good potpourri, if you will, of different clips. She says all of Europe will be minority white within 10 years, and that is what's currently happening in Spain right after their government gave amnesty to 1 million migrants.
لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. اللي يمكننا نقوله وطبعا يعني خطورة بكل كلمة معنى، ولكن الأفارقة عندهم رأي آخر، باغيين يدخلوا بين الأسلاك الضيقة، ولكن اللي عطى الله هو اللي عطى الله هو هذا. نطلبك يا الله، نتمنوا من الله أنها تكون طبعا ناس كتغامر بحياتها من أجل ارتماء في البحر في اتجاه المجهول مبدئيا، باش نكونوا واضحين، لأن عدد كبير تبارك الله ديال هاد سواء المغاربه او الافارقه في اتجاه المعبر الحدودي بسلسله موجه بشريه بكل كلمه بمعنى، نساء ورجال، شباب وشابات، الكل تيغامر من اجل الدخول سباحه او المرور عبر الاسلاك الشائكه الخطيره. لاحظوا الافارقه المتخصصين في استعمالهم بشكل دائم، ولكن الان تيصارعوا الزمان من اجل الدخول، ولكن نطلب الله السلامه للجميع، طلبوا الله السلامه للجميع. لاحظوا هذا الاول اللي ودار هنا في الحقيقه صحيح.
Sorry, I mean, I'm literally fascinated by how they're going to get over this barbed wire, and you just think, have these guys never seen Fight Club? And do they have? I guess they don't have access to a big roll of carpet, do they? Next up, we got this gem. Notice there's not any women. These are military-age men ready to take over the country of Spain and assault anybody that gets in their way. Is this from the same day? Seems like I've seen a clip like this before, but maybe I've just seen a border shot from this. I think that's what it is. I think I've seen this Spanish border before with the water and everything. I've just never seen it overrun like this. It's like something out of World War Z, folks, or The Walking Dead. Seriously. And I don't say that to dehumanize them. I mean, I'm just saying, like, when have you ever seen in real life something that looks like a zombie apocalypse and a bunch of zombies running through the street? It's like they literally, the third world barbarians are here for your country. In this case, it's Spain. And the leaders of Spain, they have no... This is just like Camp of the Saints. If you haven't read Camp of the Saints, you've got to go read it. It's a little difficult to get through because it's translated from French. I find the sentence structure and stuff just a little odd, but they were trying to get to a good translation. Anyway, yeah, it's like go read Camp of the Saints. It's incredible how prophetic Rapspale was. Yeah, Camp of the Saints by Jean Rapspale. Jean Rapspale. If you go, you need to get this book and read it. There's a version out there now where you can get it, and it's been retranslated. It was banned it's been banned for a long time. Now, this is the one you want to get. You want to get this one right here. This is the one that I have. A migrant fleet, 1 million strong, set sail from Calcutta, its destination Europe. As the fleet advances, the continent is submerged under a torrent of words. Will the old nations of Europe resist the migrants or welcome them, honor their past or embrace the radiant future, open fire or open their hearts? Enthusiasm, delusion, cowardice, and finally panic. The migrants make landfall. First published in 1973, Jean Rapspale's The Camp of the Saints ranks among the great dystopian novels of the 20th century. Long out of print and translation, it is often hailed as prophesying the mass migrations of our own day. The present edition contains an introduction by the scholar of French political thought Nathan Pekoski. In 2011, the 2011 preface that Rapspale wrote by way of final testament of the book, and an original translation by Ethan Rundell. For the first time available in English after years of neglect, this edition will allow a new generation of readers to pose Rapspale's questions for themselves and measure the distance we have come, or not come, since the book was first published more than 50 years ago. And again, this is the book, this is the version, the cover that you want. You want it to look like this. Because there's other entries on Amazon, but this is the one that I've been reading. And again, the foreword and everything else, I'll just reiterate, do not read it until you're through with the book, because there's spoilers in there. It's really frustrating. I really wish I had have known. I wouldn't have known. I really wish I wouldn't have known. And when you understand what happens in like the first chapter, it would have been so cool. I wouldn't have seen it coming. It would have been so much better. And I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but it would have been so much better. So it's just like this, though. This is literally, it's so prophetic, written 50 years ago. And essentially what happens is, because of what we would describe as just wokeism. Like, the country is so suicidal. Like, the wokeism has in the plight of the migrant, and who are we to cast judgment on the third world, and borders are racist, and we've got it so good, and we're white, and we've got white guilt, and we're French, and we've got to be kind to the people that are coming here. And basically, I mean, there's some really good, interesting stories where in the book, and I don't mind spoiling this type of stuff. I just didn't want to spoil what happens in the very beginning. I mean, there's some interesting stories about how some of the guys, like some of the political operatives that are all for the immigrants coming and destroying France, and like, we've got to let them in, end up getting killed by the mob themselves. So there's a lot of like reap what you sow in the book. And then there's a lot of tough talk. We're going to do this. We're going to stand up. We're going to fight our country. We're going to defend our country. But then when the time comes, the leaders, the moral courage fails because they can't bring themselves. They've been so beaten down intellectually, and they've been so conquered mentally that they think of themselves as less. They almost think that they deserve to be overrun by the third world. They don't want to protect the greatness of France. And it just happens. The migrant fleet. And so when I'm reading that book, Camp of the Saints, you know, you're in your mind's eye an imagination of what it would look like in the fleet and the coming on the beach, specifically coming on the shores of France. And that scene out of Spain today is like verbatim what I had in my mind when I was reading Camp of the Saints. It's kind of spooky. It's so accurate with what I had envisioned. Anybody out there, anybody in the chat, have you guys read Camp of the Saints? Anybody? Let's see here. We got a few. Yeah. Anyway, you guys need to get it. Get Camp of the Saints if you feel so inclined. You really need to get it. In other news, this was an interesting post that you've heard me talk about Elon Musk, and you've heard me talk about how there's a stark contrast in what was going on the first 5 months of the Trump presidency versus what's going on now. Elon Musk was a big part of that. Somebody over at America First Report by named Alexis Williamson says Elon Musk is all in for the midterms because the radical left would torch America. So it's something we all know. I mean, we certainly know this. But I hadn't heard this report until today. Elon Musk did not mince the reality. Quote, America is toast if the radical left wins, he declared earlier this year. They will open the floodgates to illegal immigration and fraud, and it won't be America anymore. Now the world's richest man is putting serious capital behind those words. According to Axios, Musk is reviving his America PAC for a major push in the 2026 midterms. The focus is pure turnout, door-knocking, digital ads, and direct mail aimed at conservative base, especially those voters who tend to sit out non-presidential years. In 2024, the same PAC that spent more than $260 million and knocked on over 10 million doors across swing states. This time, the investment is expected to be substantial again. James Blair, a senior Trump political advisor, called the return a huge boost for Republicans across the country. America PAC's spokesperson added that the group is excited to again be part of the team that built a top-notch operation capable of bucking history. This is not some sudden conversion. Musk poured roughly $260 to $290 million into 2024 effort that helped elect President Trump and keep the House and Senate in Republican hands. He became the public face of the Department of Government Efficiency. Then came the predictable blow-up over the big one beautiful bill. Musk hated the elimination of EV subsidies and what he called a mountain of disgusting pork. Words flew, accusations about Epstein files surfaced. For a moment, it looked finished. Yet Trump has a long record of repairing relationships that the media declared dead. The two have mended enough fences that Musk is once more coordinating with the president's team. He already cut a $10 million check to a Kentucky Senate super PAC earlier this year, and he has spent months pushing the Save America Act to his more than 230 million followers on X, calling a failure to pass it an act of high treason against the American people. That bill demands proof of citizenship, registered to vote. In other words, the bare minimum for a nation that still pretends to take sovereignty seriously. So there you have it. Elon Musk saying that he's all in. And look, with any of this stuff, and there are those reports out there saying that President Trump, after that disastrous Anthony Fauci hearing, that was really nothing more than sound bites. President Trump saying he's going to honor the pardon that Joe Biden wrote, even though, the auto pen, there's some question to it. President Trump saying, look, we're going to honor the pardon. A lot of people are thinking that one of the reasons Donald Trump is honoring that pardon is because he's maybe told a lot of the people in his administration that he's going to issue them pardons because the Democrats are inevitably, whether they take power now or whether they take power again in 2028, that the Democrats are inevitably going to go after members of the Trump administration. And so there's people thinking that this is the new norm, that the new norm will be presidents pardoning their own people when they leave office because the other side is so vindictive. And I don't know if that's true or not. But what I do know is if the Democrats win, they are going to go after Elon Musk in a way that they won't go after just anybody. It's going to be vicious for him, and he's got to know that. So he's going to pay up and try to help the Republicans keep the House and the Senate. So something to think about. Pretty crazy, actually. I didn't see that. I mean, I knew they'd kind of mended fences, and you guys know me. I mean, I've talked about the Elon Musk Trump divorce was actually I think it was a bad thing for the American people. I really do. He found all that waste, fraud, and abuse. Found illegals on Social Security. Found illegals on the voting rule. I mean, it was the USAID thing. I mean, grateful that got shut down in a big way. But we were talking about ending the IRS. We were talking about Doge checks. We were talking about all of these things that we're not really talking about anymore. Instead, we're talking about Iran. And it's a big problem. So what else do we have here as we leave? No, that's pretty much it. That's all I got. I want to give a shout-out to our sponsors, Red Vive Health, New Horizon Real Estate, Gateway Sight and Sound, Pet Club 24/7, Sherrod Chiropractic, and, drum roll, please, the Paul Harrell program is powered by the Healing Veterans Project. Go to healingveteransproject.us. That's healingveteransproject.us as we help veterans get red light panels that the VA won't cover, but doctors have prescribed it. Break free from the pharmaceutical hamster wheel. We're trying to help veterans who need this. Scan the QR code, donate directly, or if you have a business, reach out to me, Paul, at healingveteransproject.us. And we will integrate this into the payment portal, and we can even help with giving you a marketing fee to increase your bottom line on the other side of this, and we can make that work. And so check it out, healingveteransproject.us, or email me, Paul, at healingveteransproject.us if you have a business. That's all the time that we have, folks. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow.